Welcome, Hokies. My name is Lizette Raballetto. To those of you here on campus and those joining us from your homes, welcome once again. We're happy to be with you all from wherever you may be joining us this evening. It goes without saying that the past 5 months have been a unique time for us all. In that time, we have all been challenged in ways that we've never thought could be possible. We've had to think creatively about how we build community and engage with others. Our social norms around building community have evolved and been impacted in varied ways. We all had a vision for what 2020 would be, and I know that it goes without saying that this likely was not that vision. Especially to our new Hokies, you had plans for a first year here on campus that would be filled with lots of social gatherings and great experiences with us while all managing the lack of being able to culminate your senior year. But it goes without saying that we're all excited to be back on campus, and the energy in Blacksburg is simply invigorating right now. While we may not be able to gather in the ways that we are accustomed to, we're still gathering in different ways, whether that's a Zoom call, physically distant, or over Google Meets and other social media platforms. Our goal this evening is to share with you perspectives from various campus leaders on how they navigated the spring semester and how they are working with their student organizations and friends to have a meaningful fall in our new normal. I'd like to introduce you to each of our student leaders, and I'll go ahead and call them off, and they'll introduce themselves by sharing their name, major, hometown, and involvement here on campus. To start us off, please welcome Victoria.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Dashevsky and I'm currently a senior at Virginia Tech. I'm studying packaging systems and design and I minor in psychology. And at the university this year, I'm the president of the Jewish Student Union, which has allowed me to also be the chair of the Commission on Student Affairs. And fun fact, it is the only commission within university governance that is student chair.
Hey, my name is Spencer Hamilton. I'm from just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm a fifth-year senior in politics, philosophy, and economics, and I'm currently the president of the Interfraternity Council, which is the governing body above the 24 values-based fraternities at Virginia Tech.
Hi everyone, my name is Ariana Dickens. I am a rising junior majoring in fashion merchandising and design, and I'm from Yorktown, Virginia. I am the director of recruitment for a co-ed search fraternity, Alpha Phi Omega.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Lin. I'm a senior majoring in business information technology. My position here in Virginia Tech is I'm the president of the Residence Hall Federation, as well as the general secretary for Council of International Student Organization. I'm currently residing in Blacksburg and I'm from Taiwan.
Thank you to all our student leaders for being with us this evening. As you can see, they have quite a bit of varied experiences throughout our campus and involvement. And so for tonight, they'll be sharing with you those experiences from past and present and helping us to think about new ways in which we'll define community. So for our first question this evening, I'd like to ask our students to think about what it means to them to be a part of the Virginia Tech community. So community as is defined as a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And so with that definition in mind, what are some ways in which you define Virginia Tech community?
Cool. I mean, I can start on that one. So I think you've probably heard it a dozen times already by now, but the Virginia Tech community really feels different from a lot of other college campuses that I'm sure you all have visited and that everyone in this call has visited. But what I would say, for me anyways, what being a part of the Virginia Tech community means was finding, a way to make that huge campus feel a little bit smaller by finding the group that you really find a connection with. And just finding your place at Virginia Tech and in Blacksburg is really, I think, the best way to feel like you're a part of the Blacksburg and Virginia Tech community.
Just going off of what Spencer said, I've always said Virginia Tech is a big school, like a large university with a very small school feel. It really feels like everybody around you cares about you and your well-being. The one thing I noticed at Virginia Tech that really drew me to the school, and I'm an out-of-state student, was the fact that on my orientation and on my tour, everybody opened doors for each other. Like it was this like normal thing. It wasn't like they were trying to do it. It was just like a tech thing. And then I started going to tech, and I realized it's just a very natural Hokie thing to do, and it really like brings in a sense of community because you can just be walking through and it's raining and you're trying to run into McBride. This like random nice person is holding the door open for you. So to me, that's community here. Just really feeling like the people around you care about you.
Yeah, I really have to agree with Victoria there, especially with the part of having a group that you go together with and the idea of being open to other people. So here's the story. Back when I'm a freshman, when I first came here, being an international student, there's a lot of things that I really don't understand about, especially like where to eat, how to pay, how the bank works, how do I get a phone, all sort of like daily questions. And in Virginia Tech, although I have no experience in other universities, in Virginia Tech, I had the chance to get to have someone help me to go through all those processes and go through my hardship, especially over the freshman year, because being a freshman, being first year here in America, is everything is new to me, and I'm pretty much lost. And having someone there for you, caring about you, is a really special feeling because, especially since this person has nothing to do with you in the past, you met them for the first time, and that idea of helping other people out, the whole thought of Utprasum is really just intriguing to me as having that community feeling.
Thank you all. I think it goes without saying that our new Hokies are wondering how it is that community is going to be built this fall, considering the pandemic and the fact that we can't gather as we have in past years. And so I think it is important and meaningful for us to share with them how it is that you have been able to keep community since we pivoted in March to the new modality, and how you continue to think about how you're going to build community with our new students and our current students in the coming fall semester.
I think for me personally, the thing that's really kept us within community, within my organization as well as friends, is just making sure that we're checking up on each other, especially since like we're all like very face-to-face people. We love hanging out in person. We've gotten more accustomed to FaceTiming and just like texting each other just about random things. Someone's like, hey, I saw a dog today. Be like, oh my God, send me a picture. Just like little things like that to make sure that we stay in contact and like we're still within each other's lives is a one way that like we've made sure we've kept community. And I think for incoming first years as well, just like reaching out to just random people like in your classes, just saying hi and everything, walking by people in your residence hall is a great way too, as well as like going to all like the different welcome week events that we've been having. I've been meeting some great first years who are like really excited to meet new people, which I think is amazing. And then within my role as director of recruitment, like that's been the main thing we're like thinking about is like how can we keep our members still involved as well as recruiting more members. And we just keep in mind that in our fraternity, we're all about friendship and leadership and like serving others. And I think with those three like cardinal principles, we're just like, as long as we stay true to ourselves and make sure like we're meeting people and hold each other to those standards, that's how we're gonna help keep new members and like actively searching out people who try to reach out and do those same things. So doing Zoom meetings, just like sending random emails, little things like that are some ways that we're still trying to like keep our membership up and still like recruiting as like a whole.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that Ariana just said. It is harder now, you know, to maintain those connections like we were able to in the past, especially in fraternity. The way that we maintain those connections in the past in a normal year is with big in-person group gatherings and, you know, getting together with all your brothers and your friends and connecting that way. But we've really tried to pivot to, you know, thinking about it as the most important part being that connection itself and not how you make that connection and how you maintain that connection. And so we've had to switch to a lot of more virtual events. But as long as everyone knows and thinks about, you know, the fact that it's about the connection itself, it's not about how you do it. And so um, it's different, but it's still that same connection that you wanted and you will find in Blacksburg.
Thank you, Spencer. And we have a question for some of our Hokies that are viewing us this evening. They're asking, how can I become a Hokie? How do I immerse myself in the community? How do I build connections during this time? So I think some of you spoke to continuing to stay involved with your organizations by meeting via Zoom and in FaceTiming each other and other social media. But what are ways that you would encourage our current new students to find the organizations that they desire to be a part of and want to build community with?
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I'm going to jump in on this one as well. Because so college in a normal time frame is completely out of your comfort zone. And so the way to be the most successful, I think, early on is to just put yourself outside of your comfort zone as much as possible. And that's how you find the groups and the people that you really connect with. And so I don't think it's any different now than it was before. It's just, it's going to be a little bit harder and it's a little different than it would normally be. But I would say you just have to put yourself out of your comfort zone and reach out to these organizations that sound interesting to you. Things that you've done in the past, there's probably an organization at Virginia Tech that does that. There's a club and an organization for just about everything. Or you can join something entirely new, which I think is a great option as well. So I really just encourage you to go outside of your comfort zone as much as possible and just reach out to these organizations because they want you there too.
I want to quickly go off of what Spencer said. It's so true to go out of your comfort zone and try something new. But a big thing is don't be afraid to like talk to people in your Zoom, in your classes over Zoom. Or I actually met one of my really good friends freshman year when I saw they had a dog outside on campus, and I was like, "Hey, your dog is cute," and I pet their dog on the drill field, and like we got to talking, and we're still friends. I lived with her last year and everything. So like you can make friends and connections in the oddest ways because everyone's like looking to make a friend or start a new friendship. And then something else I would say about clubs is totally try something new that you've never done before. There's over, I think, 850 clubs here on campus. It's a very high number. So you'll find something you like. Like personally, me, I like started liking to go to like salsa nights because they were fun. So I was like, now I'm like, maybe I should join the salsa club. So there's clubs for everything, and don't be afraid to say hi to people.
Yeah, I just want to follow up with Victoria here because I really agree with what she just said. Especially since we're in such a difficult and complicated situation as with the pandemic that's happening around us, and we really have to be careful and be cautious of what we're doing, as well as be responsible and be respectful to others. There's a lot of opportunity here in Virginia Tech from governing and university politics all the way to just simply having fun with your friends, or if you simply just want to do researches or be really professional, there are clubs and groups for that as well. And in a matter of fact, Gobbler Fest is coming up, and although this year is all going to be online, but this also means that it's not going to be restricted by weather or the distance that you actually have to walk, considering that there's like 800 clubs that usually in the past that usually goes on drill field, and walking through every single club, exploring everything takes hours. The matter of fact that we went full virtual this year will provide us, especially, and provide you as freshmen, a huge opportunity to really get deep into talking with the people in a short amount of time, and it saves you from actually having walking from place to place and going through the crowds. So that's a huge opportunity right there for you to take time and explore what you may like or what you might never thought about that you might like in the past. So that's it.
Thanks, Tim. That's a great segue to a question that just came in from a student Actually, we have a couple students who've said to us they are going to be remote from campus this year. So they've opted to stay home and do all of their courses online. And they still want to be able to experience student organizations and what it means to be part of the Hokie Nation. Ariana, I'm going to call upon you because I know that you made that difficult decision as well. And so if you just want to share with our Hokies how you plan on staying involved in the remote setting and also what that decision was like for you.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm going to be a junior this year. So I decided to stay home just for like personal reasons. Like I had just like families that I was concerned about. Like if I go back to campus, like am I putting them at risk if I go home? As well as just knowing all of my classes are going to be online, I felt that it would fit better for me to stay at home, be with my family and take care of them and be with them rather than go back to campus. And as much as I'm going to like miss my friends and miss like Virginia Tech, I just know that being at home was just a great decision for me personally. And I completely relate to people who have made that decision, as like hard as it can be. My best advice and something that I'm really going to do this year with staying at home is definitely like reaching out to those people. My professors have already just like, do you want to introduce yourself in like Canvas? And I'm just like, okay, hi, my name's Ariana, like nice to meet you, and like private messaging people like over Zoom and things like that. But definitely just don't be afraid to like start that conversation. So if you are just in a group and you're maybe like no one's talking, don't be afraid to be like that first person who talks or like answers a question, because everyone's in that same boat. And normally people like to see an example. So if you lead by example, maybe other people will do the same, reach out to you and things like that. Um, I would also say like maybe reach out to people who are older than you too. Like if you need like a mentor, like in your subject, you're not sure how to get that because you're not in person, you can look people up who may be like the same major as you and get that information as well. But I think also just by like reaching out first, because that's definitely going to be like a harder part. It's something that one should definitely do and something that I'm going to be doing more. So that way I can like meet new people, but also like stay in contact with others and like setting up FaceTime and Zoom meetings and all that great things.
Thanks, Ariana. So some of our new Hokies are also submitting questions and wondering how clubs and organizations are going to continue to meet with their membership. And so I know that all of you had a huge adjustment in March when we made that quick decision at the start of the pandemic. And so if you all can share a little bit about how your organizations adapted then and how they continue to adapt for this fall semester and how they will meet with their students and potential new students joining your clubs and organizations.
I can take this question. So, something a lot of clubs have been doing, and I know my club has been doing, is trying to find ways to make Zoom fun and not so educational. Because obviously, we're all going to be on Zoom for our classes. So, when we open Zoom, we're going to think school. And you don't always want to be thinking school when you're hanging out with your friends or at a club or an organization. You're just trying to kick back and have fun. So, something we've really tried to do is like, we'll play YouTube videos at the beginning. We'll kind of like send each other memes because we usually like text while we're on Zoom all together. So we'll like send memes in our group chat, stuff like that. We'll say funny jokes. We'll like show what's around us. So like, oh, look, this is my dog, something like that. So really just trying to make it as personable and fun as possible. And then something I've been doing a lot is actually, it's a Chrome extension. It's called Netflix Party, I think, and you can all watch Netflix together and you can play it together, and there's a chat feature. So my club has been doing that for like cool informational movies or TV shows and stuff like that. So there are a lot of ways to make Zoom fun and make virtual meetings fun. You just kind of have to not be afraid to try it and do it. It might be awkward the first few seconds, but after that, it's all good.
So fraternities at Virginia Tech are doing our best to, recruit as similar to how we would have in the past. Obviously, we can't have the same kind of, big in-person events that we would have normally done. But our chapters are still going to be reaching out to people and still trying to bring new members in to our community. And so obviously we're going to have some reduced size outdoor masked and hand sanitized events, less than we would normally. But we're trying to do everything that we can. The IFC spent a long time trying to make sure that we could do that safely. And add to our community at the same time. So in addition to all the online things that I think every organization is going to be trying to do, we're trying to, still keep as much of that in person as we can while, still being 6 feet apart and washing your hands and wearing masks and all those important things. But yeah.
I'll go next. So a huge part of how we transitioned, because both of the organization I'm involved with is more either doing event holdings. So for example, Council of International Students, we do huge events such as international street fairs and Dance of Nations, which is like 8,000 people event. Obviously, we pretty much from last semester, we pretty much straight out canceled the event because we can't have that during a pandemic with the what we previously planned from the previous year. But a huge part of how we stayed engaged was we stayed, we kept on planning on what might happen, and we plan for, we have some separate plans for like the future academic year, and thoughts of how, and brainstorming on how possibly can we keep that format, keep the whole event interesting while transitioning our event to an online environment. On the other side, we're also trying to maintain, for Residence Hall Federation, we're trying to maintain that student representation for on-campus students on an online environment. And a huge part that really helped was by using shared space work drives, such as like Google Drive. There's a Google Doc, those online workspace. It really helps to maintain that. Really helps to maintain that work proficiency.
Thanks, Tim. So, Tim mentioned a little bit about not being able to do some events due to the constraints with health and safety regulations. And Spencer really did highlight how our student organizations continue to view the policies that we're putting out as an institution and adapting their typical practices to meet the guidelines that we're providing as an institution. And so he made mention of a few things, such as ensuring that events are physically distant, that people are wearing their face coverings, face masks, that there's hand sanitizer available. And so we know that that is going to be a huge part of what all of our Hokies are going to do in the spirit of UTPROSM and leaning into ensuring that we can all stay here for a successful fall semester. So to our student leaders, I'd like to ask you all, what are some of the ways that you're navigating the conversations around building community and having in-person activities with your friends while still staying safe during this time and ensuring that your friends are wearing face coverings and that they're being socially distanced and taking all of the precautions? So how is it that you're engaging in that conversation and that you're promoting that with your peers?
I think, okay, so what I've been doing with my friends is not to be afraid to like just have those like blunt conversations, being like, hey, have you been like wearing your mask, wearing your coverings and things like that, and not being afraid to like call your friends out if you feel like they haven't or things like that. A lot of people, especially me, because I'm a pretty like passive person, I don't like getting involved with like arguments or things that could turn into arguments, but finding that if I don't feel comfortable being around my friends, because I know they probably have either been in contact with someone who hasn't been practicing like the safe protocols, or I know that they haven't been practicing like the precautions and things like that themselves, it's okay to tell them like, hey, I'm not really like in the mood or interested in hanging out right now, or maybe I just don't want to go out, like go to like a restaurant or something like that, I just want to stay inside. I just think like being honest and just like having those conversations, saying things that you are okay with and what you aren't, is like the best way to have those conversations, or at least how I've had like those conversations with my friends.
I would, completely going off of what she said, I would say that a big thing to do is don't be afraid to have those conversations, because more than likely other people in the group are thinking the same thing that you're thinking, and they're just a little bit too afraid to say it. So don't be afraid to stand up. Personally, in my friend group, I have had some serious conversations with a few of my friends, and unfortunately, some of my friends don't want to follow this distancing guidelines, so I'm just choosing to not see them in person, which is a very hard decision to make. And it sucks to not see my friends, but I want to make sure I'm doing what's best for me. And you guys should also do that. Like, don't be afraid of what other people are. You should be doing as much as you can to protect yourself, also the people around you, but you are your first priority. So don't be afraid to leave a situation if something arises, anything like that. People around you are going to understand. Yeah, that's all I got.
In my case, I try to lead by example by doing some a bit exaggerated things. So in my case, in fact, I have this with me right now. When I go out and meet a friend, I have the gas mask on, so you'll see me like this all the time, and with pretty much what looks like a homemade hazmat suit. So they would be like, why do it have to be this so excessive? And I would be like, because it's a pandemic. And a huge part of how that kind of helps toward the conversation is that you're doing it by example, and by being the person that's a little bit extreme, you kind of provided other people an incentive to be like, hey, that person is doing it to that extreme by hurting himself that much on in the gas mask that you can barely breathe. I can probably wear a mask. So that's my case.
Thank you all for sharing that, Tim. That is definitely an approach. So you are taking the, I'm going to lead by extreme example and make sure that people know I'm taking this extremely seriously. And that's definitely a way to break the ice about the conversation as well. And Ariana shared with us about being blunt and not being afraid to share what our expectations are. And Victoria, you shared a good point there. Sometimes we have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, saying no to a friend who you know may not be adhering to the different guidelines to the level that you are. And so we 100% encourage you to think about what that looks like for you, and know that at the end of the program today, we will be sending you a facilitated worksheet so that you can ask yourself some questions that hopefully help you as a student create some expectations for yourself and get you to think about the ways in which you're going to engage with your friend group or your new friend group and how you're going to create those expectations. I will share with you all that my family and I recently welcomed a little one to our household. I had a son in January, and so none of us expected that we would be raising a baby through a pandemic. And so in our household, we have had unique and different expectations for how we approach it. And I've been coming to you all throughout orientation from my home, and I've gone to campus to record for different parts of orientation and continue to be excited by the events coming up in Welcome Week, and will be present for those. But I am extremely cautious. It has meant that my life looks a little bit different, but I'm still really engaged with all of the communities that I'm a part of and committed to the work that our office does. And so, again, just varied examples for how it is that we're all navigating this unique circumstance, and knowing that setting your own personal standard and values on something like this is 100% okay. And we want to make sure that you know that. So we do have a few other questions from our students that have come in for our student leaders here. They're wondering, what would you recommend as the best locations to study here on campus for those online classes, whether they're synchronous or asynchronous? Where would you recommend for our new Hokies to leave their residence hall rooms and go out to campus and find that great spot to log in and join their classes?
I can jump in on that one. So I think one of the best places to do it is, and you can kind of do it anywhere, but I think the duck pond is one of the best ones. If you throw up an Eno in between any two trees you can find, it's beautiful out there, especially in early morning or in late evening. That's always a really good option, and hopefully we'll have some good Blacksburg weather.
I think everybody will come to know that every Hokie has their own secret study spot on campus. It's kind of this thing where like everybody prefers a different spot. I will share one of my secret ones with you guys. If you go to Williams Hall, it's a bit of, so that's like by Lytton Reeves, beside Lytton Reeves. It's a building not many people know of. If you walk down, there's like stairs that go down. It seems weird. It really looks like a high school. There's this really big atrium, and there's a glass ceiling, and there's trees everywhere, and it's really nice. And not that many people know about it. Well, you all know about it, but there's usually a lot of tables and chairs over there. It's very peaceful. It's a nice place if you like being inside. And then one of my other favorite spots to study my freshman year, and I know this sounds really odd, was actually in the hallway of my dorm on the floor with a bunch of my friends. We would go out, we would actually take our mattresses off of our beds and like sit in a circle. Obviously, you can still do this socially distanced and kind of be with people and like be in your own little corner in the hallway. Make sure your RAs are okay with it first, though, because I know we had to talk to our RA about our study habits.
My favorite place to study is Wallace Hall, like for the same reason as Victoria. It kind of has like an outdoor, indoor kind of feeling. So there's like plants and like glass ceilings everywhere. And for someone who doesn't really like being outside because of the bugs, yes, I'm scared of bugs. I love being inside around all the plants and everything. So it makes it feel like I'm outside, but I'm inside instead.
Also, I'm gonna jump in again. I just realized I meant to say Wallace and not Williams. This is how you know it's been a long week for me. So me and Ariana have the same study spot.
For me, it's more of just because for the past 3 years I've been living on campus, and a huge part of my study time was spent in the study lounges, which it's a pretty big room for most halls, and it's a place where you can spend a lot of your time alone in a enclosed space. Although it depends on the residence hall you're in. There will be a differentiation in policies on study lounges. You can always check with your RAs on whether your study lounge is open for you to use at that specific time this year, especially with the implementation of specific policy from House and Residence Life. On the other hand, I also spend a lot of time in the library, the Virginia Tech Library, which I'm not sure whether they're going to reopen this year and whether their study space will be public. But they have those quiet boxes on the second floor. And it's a tiny, small room where if you enter there, no one from the outside can hear what you're doing in the inside, and you can't hear anything from the outside. So it's a complete enclosed environment where it's just completely quiet and you can't hear anything but yourself and whatever you're doing with your studies. So that's two places I really love to spend my time studying.
Thank you all. Definitely some great tips there. What I will tell all of our new Hokies is that we were working hard this summer to think about how it was that you each would experience your online courses on campus. And so you may have noticed if you've already moved in, and to those of you coming to us in just the next few days, we have set up several tents across campus that will be open spaces for students to study throughout the fall semester. And what I will say to you is the weather in Blacksburg can change really, really quickly, but know that the tents will be a great area for each of you, whether that's wearing a sweater or staying away from the rain. They will be able to provide you with a great study space. We've also increased our Wi-Fi across campus. And so as you're thinking about, taking advantage of the beautiful weather, as Spencer said, and going out by the duck pond and setting up, know that we've been thinking critically about how our Wi-Fi needed to expand as we have so many online classes. And yet we also know we still have hybrid and in-person classes happening. And so you'll want to take close note to how capacities are noted throughout campus for different spaces. And so one of the spaces that I know you all got to see throughout some of the videos we were sending out this summer was our registrar's team was taking out different chairs and tables from actual classrooms to ensure that when you return, they were ready for a socially distanced experience. So you'll be able to head to some classroom buildings throughout the day and make sure that you're checking on how many people are allowed in each space. or each common space, as some of our students mentioned. Squire Student Center is another great spot. That's where our office is located. They have a lot of couches and plugs and other kind of walk up stations that you can stand at or lay down at or sit on the floor. Victoria, I don't know about taking the bed out of the rest hall rooms, but definitely talk to your RA. But there are lots of spaces on campus and the Wi Fi has been increased. So, Hokies, we have a few more questions. Some of our students are still wondering, what if I'm someone who is typically shy? How would I get to meet new people? Or what words of encouragement or tactics would you give to me to meet new Hokies during this time?
So I would say, going back a lot on what Spencer said, college is a lot of being uncomfortable. And I know that that sounds like a little bit scary, but trust me, when I first came to college, I was an absolute introvert. And now I can happily say I'm not. But a big thing that I would recommend you doing is, like, when you're in class, just chat in a Zoom and say hi. Don't be afraid to ask for, on Canvas, there's discussion pages if your teacher has allowed it, and most teachers have it open. You can ask for people to do like to study together and do homework. So if you are shy of just reaching out to somebody and be like, hey, be my friend, you can totally find common things between you and another person, like class, a lot, like just saying that you want to study, anything like that, because I'm certain people are, everyone needs study help. Most of the large freshman classes, like there's pretty big group chats of a lot of people in them. They get made randomly. So don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I need a study buddy, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely, to everything that Victoria said. But I think the best encouragement that I got is, and it's true, everyone is going through the exact same experience and everyone is feeling the same things that you're feeling, in those first couple weeks, especially. So I think that thought, makes it a lot easier to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit more if you know that everybody else there is doing the exact same thing. Anybody that's acting like they feel totally comfortable on day one is not. They're faking it maybe really well, but it's a new scary experience for everyone. So I would say, like Victoria said, just go out of your comfort zone, and know that there's hundreds of other students doing the same thing with you.
I would say to any first years who are living on campus in the residence hall, something that I definitely did that helped me get out of like my comfort zone, kind of helped me meet new people because I was also very shy, was having just like a whiteboard outside of my door. So people would just like either write down like their Instagrams or write down a note or anything like that, just to like add people and then probably talk to them on there, and then probably just going like door to door if you feel comfortable and just like introducing yourself. That's something I did. I walked my entire hall and knocked on everyone's door just saying, hi, I'm Ariana, nice to meet you, and then just go from there. But definitely use like the whiteboard trick if you are a shyer person. It helps a lot.
Personally, I'm a very introvert person. It might not look like so, but before coming to college and over my first freshman year, I'm never the person that initiates the conversation. The huge part of being in college is that at some point you will be forced into a conversation, whether that's in a group work, like a teamwork for class, or being sent in the group, or even just being in the residence hall. And especially with the residence hall, a lot of residence halls, they have this whole chat where they pretty much add most of the people into some sort of online chatting application. And that for a person that's shy, that is a huge opportunity for you to kind of blend in, but at the same time get to know people that's living around you and really get the chance to connect with other people, because you never know where you can find someone that's similar and has similar interests with you. So
Thank you all. So I heard a few things, and that was using the discussion chat in your Canvas, using the chat on your Zoom calls, putting yourself really out there and thinking differently about how it is that you approach friendships. Ariana, I really appreciated your thought around having your dry erase boards. Those existed back when I went to college, and so I'm happy to hear that those are still a thing on people's doors. I would say that that's probably also a location that some of our students can share what their expectations are around why they may have their door closed. So, I would, if I were to think back to the possibility of me going to college during this time, I'd probably want to have my door closed considering all health guidelines. But I can put a nice message on my dry erase board that lets people know, hey, I'm still willing to make friends. Don't, feel free to knock, but please wear a face covering. Or thinking about different ways in which you do that. I did want to follow up, Tim. You wondered if the library was going to be opened, and I know that we did close the library in March for a little bit, but our colleagues in the library have opened the library, and so we are fully operating. You can find their hours on the VT Ready site, but they are operational and they're available from 7:30 to 8 p.m. for this week. And so please take a look back for their hours for further weeks. And so if you're interested in the study spaces at the library that Tim mentioned that are really quiet, I would encourage you to check those out. I know that it is everyone's personal favorite to go to the Torgerson Bridge, so I'm excited to know that that is open and available for all of our newest Hokies. So, student leaders, we're kind of getting to the close end of our program, but we do have a last question. What do you wish you had known your first year? But I want to make the twist. What do you wish you would have known then that is even more important now during the pandemic?
This is a tricky question, but I think I have an answer for you. A big thing that I wish I knew back my freshman year that's even more important now, considering, the Rona is here, is the fact that everybody has a very similar experience to you. And I know that Spencer had said this earlier, but being a freshman is a little daunting. I personally came to Virginia Tech and knew absolutely nobody here. I didn't even know my roommate. So it was a very interesting, eye-opening experience for me because I came into a completely strange place. My parents left, and then I didn't see them for like 5 months. But I kind of had to figure everything out on my own. And I think now that we're in a pandemic, we're having even more similar situations because we've all been locked in the same spot for like the last 5 or 6 months, depending on your state. So we're all itching to try to make friends. We're all itching to like get out of this very boxed in quarantine like society that we've been living in. And I think it's really comforting to know that everybody else is also experiencing it. And like personally for me, I don't even know if I know how to interact with people socially anymore because I haven't done it for so long. So it's going to be interesting when I get back on campus. So
Tim, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So for me personally, one thing that I really wish I knew back then was that never be ashamed to ask for help, because being Asian from an Asian country, a huge part of my culture is that you should know certain things. Certain things are generally a common sense, and having that background coming to college, a huge part of me never really thought about asking for help. And throughout the college years, I really found out that you should never be ashamed to ask for help, especially with what's happening right now with the whole pandemic around us. You should never be ashamed of asking for help or asking for a mental support. Like when you feel you're down, that's because you're down. It's because that you've been locked inside your room for the past 3-5 months, depending on where you are from, and you're stuck there without any social interaction, without being able to do the normal things for most people, without being able to do the normal things that you do. And it is not normal. And the whole part of it being not normal is the reason why you're feeling that whole weird feeling that you're not you, I don't really know how to say this, but it's just that don't be ashamed of asking for anything and looking for help. You should ask for anyone for help, ask your friend, ask your teacher, ask your professor when you meet difficulties, when you can't um, do certain things on time because of the difficulty that you have. Always speak out. Always speak out what you think, and you have concern, speak out. Just tell the people that you have concern about certain thing, say policy. If you're that extreme, say policy. If you're concerned about a policy, whether it's going to work, whether it's going to how it's going to provide you safety, just speak out because other people are willing to listen. And especially in Virginia Tech, the culture that I have experienced is that for most of the time, most people in Virginia Tech, they're really not only to listen, but they will always be willing to help you the best they can. It doesn't matter who they are or where they are at this certain point of time. They will always be there for you, and that's important because like don't be like me because over the first few months of the pandemic I had no idea what I'm doing. I screwed up a lot of things and I didn't look for help. And the first time when I asked for help from someone that I always assumed that might not help me because the person is on the opposite side of a lot of things compared to where I'm from, the person still helped me. So the ultimate point is always speak out what you think and always ask for help when you need the help.
What I would say I really wish I had embraced more as a freshman is this idea that, you have no idea what your college experience is going to be like. You can plan as much as you want, but odds are it's not going to end up exactly how you planned it. I came in as an engineering major and I never dreamed of joining a fraternity. And I changed my major and I became a leader in my fraternity. So I would say just prepare yourself to be open to whatever happens. If you happen to run into some guy in an organization that you never thought you would join and you just hit it off with him, look into joining that organization. So I would say go with the flow kind of as much as you can and just embrace whatever new things are going to happen because a lot of things that you don't expect to happen are going to happen. And so I think the best way is to just roll with it and embrace it and make the best of whatever happens. But it's an exciting time. It's fun.
And then for my advice, I would say that FOMO or like fear of missing out is real, but it's like completely okay to feel that way. Because my freshman year, I would see my friends like all hanging out or like they're all watching a movie at like 10 p.m. and it lasts until like 1 a.m. But I know I have an 8 a.m., but I want to go hang out with them so bad. And then I don't, and I feel bad because I didn't. But like the fear of missing out, it's going to happen. And it's okay. Like you don't need to do like everything that your friends are doing or go hang out with them all the time because sometimes you need to take time like for yourself and do things that are help you mentally, physically, emotionally. And that's something that I definitely lean into more now with COVID and everything. But FOMO is real and it's okay to feel it. And yeah, that's what I have.
Thank you all. I definitely heard quite a bit around stepping outside of your comfort zone, not being afraid to ask for help, making sure that you have some standards for yourself and not letting the fear of missing out, FOMO, get to you, especially during this pandemic. And just making sure to remind yourself that all of you are new to this situation. And so, how is it that you can lean on that to build relationships and to build connections with each other? So I'm grateful to each of you for sharing that. Hokies, we hope that our time together has really given you some insights to what it will be like to navigate building community this fall. We do want to encourage you to continue to seek out the resources that we have for you here on campus and make sure that you're meeting with your orientation team member or your RA or that student that you see walking on the drill field that you suddenly decide to wave at and say hello to and start to engage in a conversation. We want to make sure that you're doing all of those things. One of the final things that we want to leave you all is, as you've probably already seen, we have a commitment as a campus to staying well throughout the pandemic and ensuring that we're committed to that. And so we want to take some time to share with you a little bit about what that commitment statement is. As members of the community, we pledge to care for health and well-being of others by personally adopting our community wellness commitment.
We will affirm our commitment to the safety, health, and well-being of our campuses and local communities.
We will affirm that we will support the mental well-being of all community members.
We will wear face covering masks in public areas.
We will practice physical distancing by maintaining at least 6 feet of distance from others.
We will practice good hygiene, including frequent hand washing and covering coughs or sneezes.
We will stay home and avoid public spaces when not feeling well.
We will contact a healthcare provider or an urgent care facility if we believe we are sick or have been exposed to the coronavirus.
We will support but avoid contact with those who are sick.
We will follow public health guidelines and medical recommendations to be tested and self-isolate as necessary.
We will make a list of all others with whom we have had close contact, if necessary, to aid in contact tracing efforts. Hokies, we invite you to participate in the self-guided reflection that was emailed to you by your orientation team member during this presentation. We hope that this facilitated guide will help you to create some standards for how you engage with your students, and that our time today and the questions that you were able to ask and the answers that you received from our student leader panelists help you in thinking about how you will build community here at Virginia Tech. As always, go Hokies!